Hello, Samantha. Welcome to October 7. Thank you for doing this. Would you like to introduce yourself?
Sure. Hello. Thank you for inviting me. For me, it's an honor to be here and share a little bit about me, about everything I do. I mean, I know that you will ask me questions, but by now, for you to know, I am Mexican, but now I live in Poland and I dedicate my life to Jewish history and like Holocaust remembrance. So, well, this is like few words about me, but I know you will ask me.
Amazing. So original. We've never met someone so young and Mexican living in Poland, uh, working in Holocaust memory. Could you tell us a little bit about how you got to that?
Sure. Well, it's a long story, but I was not born in a Jewish family. So I was born in Mexico in a Christian family. I didn't know much actually about Jewish history or Jewish traditions, anything like this. But 8 years ago, my family had the curiosity, my mom, my uncles, and aunt, to discover where their grandfather was from. So my great grandfather, because his name was Marcos Tullman in Mexico, and we knew that supposedly he was from Russia because that's what he used to say. You will see this in this picture. A little bit of my family, and with the research, we discovered that he was a Jew from Poland. So yeah, and from the Lublin region where I'm located right now. So big research started from this moment where the town of my great grandfather is. So it's here in Poland. And we came to Poland in 3 trips to discover about them, the family Stulman, if that's the last name, what happened to them. The thing is that he emigrated to Mexico before the war in the 24 because of job. Like he was studying in Germany before the war, and then he emigrated to Mexico. In the 20s, he married a Catholic woman, and all the descendants from his line, at least, we didn't know much about our Jewish past. So this is what happened, but then we came to discover the truth. When I was 16 years old was the first time I came here. So almost 10 years ago, this started.
Wow, this is an exceptional story. Um, what did you do with that information? Like, how did your family feel about that?
Well, I will show you also. Oh, sorry, I think I didn't want to show that. I'm sorry. The For us it was of course an amazing discovery, but so hard because, well, my great grandfather, he never talked about his past,
Mm.
and he never talked about his family. And then we discovered that they were from this town called Miałżerzec Podlaski, or in Yiddish most known like Mesrich, and that most of his family was killed in the Holocaust, in the Shoah. He never talked about this. So you see here pictures of us like now, some years ago, coming to the places. My grandmother is the daughter of my great grandfather. For us, it was like difficult to do, but also necessary. And we also, at the same time, fell in love with Poland, the nowadays Poland, like the people that helped us to research about this, that we went to like a lot of archives and, libraries. They also moved to this town in the mid 20s, my family. So we've managed to find even the address where they were living. And we are inside the building in this picture that you see there because a woman let us in and explain us about this. So for us, it was difficult to come here to visit the places where they were killed. For example, this execution point in the woods. But in the other side, I don't know the how this country is right now. For us, it was so special. Um, so yeah, this is what led me to do all of this because when I was 16 is the first time I came, and then we returned 1 year after, keep researching and discovering. And for me, this marked my life. I couldn't just return to normality and do nothing about this. And I wanted to do like a project about the Holocaust to spread this information because, for example, I was raised in Mexico, right, in non-Jewish schools, and we never learn about this at school, even in history class. So I really wanted to do something about it.
What do you mean you never learned anything about this? Like, how did you study about World War II in your school?
Well, the only thing that I remember that we studied, it was, yeah, like general history of World War II, like very shortly. I think we watched maybe a documentary about, Hitler or what happened, but it was just like really short and almost nothing. Like we don't learn about Holocaust in Mexico, even if I was in private schools, which supposedly is like higher level, but no, there's no Holocaust education in Mexico, and other Latin American countries, I think, have the same problem. Maybe not all of them, but yes, this is what I was realizing, and I wanted to share this with people my age.
Yeah, it's super rare also for someone in your age to be interested in these issues, no? Like, don't you feel that you're kind of an exception?
Well, yeah, I think because when I started to do all of this, that was 5 years ago, I was 20 years old. So, yeah, from 5 years ago, I started this and I'm still in this. And maybe some people think it's crazy. Sometimes I myself think it's crazy, not in the bad way, right? But in like, as you said, not much people, young people are interested in sharing these stories.
Amazing. You're such a visionary and a leader. And today we are the 26th. Tomorrow is the International Holocaust Memory Day. What does that mean in your world, in your job, for you, for professionally or personally?
Well, yeah, for me, this day represents a lot of things. Of course, the first one for me is to personally honor and remember my ancestors, so the Stulman family. Also, every year since I started this project, I organize some event like for this day. So, for example, yesterday we had a virtual conference in Spanish about Latin America and the Holocaust with an expert that is called Mario Sinai, that he's expert in the Shoah for in Spanish speaking world. So every year I organize different kind of commemoration, and for me it's a day to remember, yeah, every particular an individual, but also remember that they were millions, right? 6 millions of Jews that were murdered, and in total more than 11 million of people that the Nazis murdered. Last year, I had the opportunity, the honor of sharing my family's history in Majdanek concentration camp that nowadays is a museum. Now that I live here in Poland, I live here since May 2024. So last year they invited me because my great grand aunt, she was a prisoner in Majdanek. She's the only one in our closest family that survived. This is her, Elena Stulman. So she was in Majdanek, and she survived also one of the greatest massacres in Majdanek in 1943 called the Operation Harvest Festival, where the Nazis were trying to erase all the remaining Jews in the region. And I shared her story and the story of my family in the official commemoration of the Holocaust in Majdanek, and in Polish. Actually, it was the first time I was asked to share my story in Polish, and there were some groups of the local high schools, like two groups of Polish high school students and some other people that just joined the commemoration. So for me this day, yeah, means to remember to keep talking about this.
That's amazing. It's probably so fresh for them to see someone like you coming not only from Mexico but also from a Christian perspective, right, into this space. Are there a lot of Christians in this space?
Like talking about this topic.
Yeah.
Well, I think also it's not very common. I think that in a lot of cases, of course, the Christians are involved or like interested in Jewish history, right? Because
Yeah.
a lot of us recognize that everything that we believe comes from the Jews, right? Jesus was Jew. Yeah. So, but there's some initiatives, interesting ones that I've known about. For example, March of Life from Germany that are like Christian Protestant people, most of them descendants of Nazis, that
Mm.
of course they regret what their ancestors did. And they do every year events and a March for Life. And this is amazing. And the other initiative that actually inspired me to create this project, The Voice of the Silence, 5 years ago, it was a little movie producer from Ecuador called JM Films that they are in the process of recording a movie, but it's still not done yet, about the Holocaust. This producer is Christian, and actually the story about of from this movie is about a survivor from Czech Republic, Lily Koppel, that she was in Theresienstadt, that it's the concentration camp in Czech Republic, and she was from a family like mixed Jewish and Catholic, but actually after the war she became Christian, like Protestant, and it's like super interesting and particular story. But this is how I got inspired 5 years ago to find the still living survivors and interview them, because this lady was still alive and they were recording documentary and then a movie. And
Mm.
that's why I started searching for survivors. I didn't know, I almost no one by then. I was just looking on Facebook groups, posting that I about my story and that I want to start a project, that I want to interview people by Zoom because it was in the pandemic as well. So yeah, this is about it.
So tell us about your project. What do you do with the organization that you created?
Sure. Well, as I mentioned, my project is called The Voice of the Silence. And it's about this, right? My great grandfather never talked about this. And in many families, we had the same case that they didn't speak about what happened. And we are, of course, understand why, because it was a difficult topic, but it's necessary. So that's why I put this name. And it started with interviews. Till now, we still do interviews and events. So I have interviewed Holocaust survivors, their descendants, even descendants of Nazis that, of course, they are against what their ancestors did. Also, like historians, documentary filmmakers, and all other people related to this topic. So I've been doing this since 2020. By now, more than 90 interviews and events were organized. But I had a team, right? Of course, we always work together with Isaac Eisen of Jewish Journal Mexico. And I had some girls that through some years they were also volunteers, and we were working together to this for this project that is not just about these interviews that normally they were on Zoom because, as I mentioned, this started in the pandemic. But when the situation got better, we started as well to organize or being invited to some live events. So in Mexico, I was going to the university, non-Jewish places, to the universities, to the high schools, taking also one Holocaust survivor that is always willing to talk about this from Mexico, Luis Opatovsky. And yeah, we've been doing this for 5 years, and also teaching by social media. Like mostly what we also do is posting some reels, TikToks, videos, and some educational content, so this can reach to young people. So yeah, this is basically what I've been doing for the past 5 years, and what brought me here to Poland to what I do also now as a job.
That's amazing. So you do it as a job. What does that mean?
Well, no, this my project is not a job because I don't get any money out of it. Of course, it's to remember, and I do it from my heart. But all of this that I have been telling you led me to yeah, to move to Poland 2 years ago. But this is like way more, how to say this, like I was supposed to live not here in Poland by now, but I was supposed to live 1 or 2 years in Israel actually. In 2024, I went to Israel because something I haven't tell you, and now I will mention it because it's the perfect moment. Thanks to this research about our family, we discovered that we have some relatives in Israel that we never knew about them. So these are our relatives in Israel. We discovered them by Yad Vashem, that they contact us with them because some of the aunt gave a testimony in the testimony pages of Yad Vashem about the murder of our family members. And this is how we got to them, and we went to see them in 2018 and 2023, sorry, in 2023. And for us, it was like, learning the beautiful side of this discovery. Okay, we learned that a lot of our family was murdered, and this is terrible. But we also learned that we have family in Israel, and there's a branch of the family that still lives there. So meeting them for us was so touching. You can see here my grandma that is in the middle of the picture with the three ladies. And she met her cousins for the first time in all her life. They never knew each other, and they could recognize some features in their face from that we come from the same family. And this is amazing. But well, this is not the exact reason why I went to Israel. It is because I received a scholarship to study there. Well, my university, I studied in Mexico communications, media, and this kind of things. But then I applied for this master's degree in the University of Haifa called Holocaust Studies. So it's focused literally in Holocaust history. And they accepted me, and I was supposed to go there to study 1 or 2 years. But you will not believe this, because also, of course, it's very like connecting with even the name of your project. So my flight to Israel was in October 7, 2023, because my master's was supposed to start on the, I think, the 14th of October or something. So they were asking us to arrive some days before. And I had my flight from Mexico, because I returned to Mexico, and then I was supposed to move there. So my flight was in October 7, 2023, but it was at night for Mexico. So the time zone is different. So of course I heard all about all the horrors before, and I couldn't fly. I didn't fly to Israel. I was studying online from Mexico in the early mornings, like 4 a.m. and 3 a.m. for months. And then, since I received the Polish citizenship, that it's another long story, but I decided to come to Poland to do an internship connected, of course, with my program, and to see what happens, to live here, maybe to do something about it, because here, of course, you can find museums, the concentration camps, everything that is related. So I arrived here almost 2 years ago. And what I do now is that I work in a place called the Grodzka Gate and Theater Center here in Lublin, Poland. That actually is interesting. We knew about this place, my family and I, because the second time we came to Poland to these discovery trips, we came to this meeting called the Lubliner Reunion, that this organization is like hosting every some years, that hundreds of descendants of Jews from the Lublin city and region, they come here, and we learn together about Jewish history of Lublin. We share the stories of our ancestors, and this organization is unique because it's led and founded by non-Jewish Poles. It has been here for 35 years, and they have exhibitions, educational programs, huge databases, and they help us also to discover information about our own family. For me, this was one of the breaking points, one of the things that inspired me to create this project and to change my life, because I was thinking, if these people that they are not even like they're non-Jewish Poles are doing this, remembering our story, I can do something. So now I came for the internship, as I mentioned, but now I'm working there officially as a tour guide. You can see on the left, we have an exhibition about the history of the Lublin Jews, that before the war, they were 43,000 Jews, and more than 97% were murdered. So was almost nothing left. I also I'm recording and editing and producing media content for the place, for the Grodzka Gate. So this is what I do. Sorry, I think I'm talking about a lot, but now I have the other thing, so I don't know if you wanna ask something else or I continue.
No, I'm just very curious about this project because if someone has family that is from Lublin, so they can contact you and you can help them find the roots of the family. Is that what you do?
Exactly. I mean, I'm not exactly, in the area of genealogy, but we have someone that can help. And also, this year in July, we have again the Lubliner Reunion. So if someone of you or you know someone that has Jewish roots from Lublin region or Lublin city, please contact me. I can leave you here my email because we will have this from the 6th to the 10th of July this year, 2026, and it will be amazing. It's a program full of not just conferences or like formal things, but also to meet with other descendants, go in like in tours of the Jewish Lublin, other events like artistical events like concerts. We have a lot of activities and it's like a really nice community, and of course it's in English because there's a lot of people coming from around the world. Mostly think, yeah, the biggest group, I think they come from Israel, and also we have from the USA, but there's like a lot of places. I've been part of this meeting 2 times. Actually, this is the times it has been done 2 times, 2017 and 2023. But now I'm part of organizing the meeting, and actually I gave the initiative to make like youth program, like events more focused to young people, so people can bring their children or grandchildren, because most of the times we receive older people, and of course everyone is welcome, but the young generation needs to know this and to carry the torch, because if the older generation is doing this and no one else is interested, in some point it will die, like, and no one is going to continue with this. So this is what we are doing. So I really invite you, if you want more information, I just send my email here in the chat. But this is what we do here, and it's amazing. I told you, like, people working in this place, they are non-Jewish Poles that they dedicate their lives to this. And what you said about people coming and discovering about their ancestors, actually this is something that I just started. Well, last year first, I became an official tour guide of Majdanek concentration camp, that, as I mentioned, nowadays is a memorial and a museum. So well, this is like extra to my job, so I'm not doing this like a lot, but sometimes I have some people interested or groups in Spanish or English. So yeah, I also give these tours in Majdanek, and I just started sometimes from time to time to do this kind of family roots trips. The first time I went with this, well, you see here a family even with kids, that they wanted to go to discover the town of their ancestors, that actually is the same town as my ancestors, so it was great. And I gave them like a tour from of the town. And this past week I've been so busy because actually for the first time, and you see also here some pictures, I was the whole week involved in a family discovery trip. This guy that you see here holding like a card, he's from Spain, Ofer Lashevitsky Rubin. Well, originally from Israel actually, but lives in Spain. And he knew that his grandparents were from the Lublin region in Poland, from some towns called Bijava, Janów Lubelski. But no one ever came from his family after the war to discover what happened, where is it. And he had this idea to come because also he's journalist and he's gonna write a book about all of this trip. And we were together like all the week, going to the towns, to the archives, to the concentration camps that are related to the story of his grandparents, because both of them were Holocaust survivors. So it was, like, to be honest, a challenge, and it's so tiring because it's not just like physical effort. This topic is something that it needs to be talked about, but it also drains you, right? Like emotionally and psychologically, it's like difficult. But for me, when I do this, even if I feel tired, or sometimes maybe I can feel that I don't want, I don't know, to do this, I feel that I need to do this. And when I'm doing this, I feel like so alive.
Yeah, it must be so hard. I'm thinking about this because actually my own father is from Lublin, so I will contact you
Wow,
after and maybe we can organize a road trip for my children or something. But
amazing. You need to
it's
come.
yeah, I would definitely, I think this is a kind of like a magic, that I knew about your project, your own personal project. I didn't know you were working about with the Lublin organization. I will definitely contact you and we'll try to see what we can do. It's very interesting, but I think what you just said about the psychological effect, it's so true, right? Because it's so hard to even think about it. So how do people react when they're there and they meet Polish people and it's kind of like you guys did this to me. So how does it work? Like what are you seeing when people meet people from
Well,
there?
I mean, I think there are different perspectives. Of course, sometimes we can hear that yeah, people cannot don't want to come here again because they know that here their ancestors suffered and stuff. But we need to remember that in this time, Poland was occupied by the Nazis, right? So we cannot just have this on mind that oh, it's Poland, because nowadays is something also different. And now that, for example, this I had this trip with Offer and his sorry his friend also, that they came together. They were also impressed. Like sometimes maybe can people can come with an image of this, but when they meet Poles, like local people, right? They can change their minds. When they met the people from the Grodzka gate, they were impressed that wow, like this is Polish people, non-Jewish, and they are remembering about what happened. Also, when we went to the towns, we met local people that they have projects about this. Like there's a man that is the owner of the synagogue, well, abandoned synagogue because it's not used anymore, and he bought the synagogue because it was, in ruins, and he preserves the synagogue, but he's not Jew. And also in the other town that we went, there's like an organization that it's taking care of the local cemetery because the government should take care about it, but they don't take care about it. So individuals are taking care about this local cemetery, for example. So I think that what I always recommend, and I've seen it experienced myself, is that if you come to Poland, or also when there's a lot of groups coming, we receive the groups from Israel, from the youngsters that come from with the official trips to Poland, etc. Is that you should meet someone local, not just come and go to all the camps, see all the death, all the terrible things that happen, because in that case you will just think bad things. But if you meet someone local from this time, from this, you will realize more than what you think. Like there's more about this, and there's really good people doing something about it. So I think that's really important, and something that is changing, because before, all of these trips that come from Israel, for example, they were just going to all of these places. And
Yeah.
nowadays there's like this idea, maybe not all of them can do it, but to meet someone local. So we receive them also in the Grodzka gate sometimes, and they meet our directors, that they are non-Jewish Poles doing this, and they are impressed, like wow, there's someone here in Poland remembering what happened.
Yeah, it's very impressive. Okay, so before we move to Q&A, I just want to ask the last kind of obvious question. We haven't talked about it. Do you have any bad reactions sometimes online or elsewhere? Do you have like, do you need to deal with people who are from the other side, let's call it?
Well, there's always, in every case, someone that will be like supporting or and not. Of course, nowadays with the situation in everywhere, that there's much more hate. So actually, in the social media, yes, I mean, I always get comments in TikTok or Facebook, that actually they are not even related to the Holocaust itself, right? They are like putting other arguments related to wars happening nowadays, and it's just like, but in most of the cases, I don't even answer, because I believe that these people will not hear, right? It's difficult, but yeah, mostly online, because of course it's easier to post something bad online than say it on in person. I mean, just so rarely I have heard a comment like this, right? In this trip that we were all the week here, we met with all of these amazing Poles that they take care about the memory, and just once we got like a bad comment from a
Mm.
really weird woman in the street that she just said like the city is too Jewish and that Hitler is good and stuff. But this is not something that happens really commonly here in Poland, comparing to other countries that nowadays unfortunately have more hate and this big protest, and it's getting dangerous even for Jews to live there. In our place in the Grodzka gate, we don't get a lot of comments. Sometimes it's just questions, right? Like
Mm.
related to the also the war nowadays, but it's really rare, like not happening that much. But in the social media, as I mentioned, is the most common thing.